in Scotland. But
First Minister got caught out on the campaign trail as she chatted with customers in a barber shop last weekend.
Meanwhile, some people are continuing to wear masks for their own personal reasons. Let's take a look.
Nicola Sturgeon was out campaigning ahead of the local elections in May, and I think we can see some of the footage which has emerged on social media appearing to show the First Minister without her face covering on during a visit to a barber's in East Kilbride. Of course, face coverings are a legal requirement in most indoor places until tomorrow. Now, in fact, the First Minister had actually posted some footage on her own social media accounts, but in this footage, as you can see, she is wearing a face covering.
After almost 2 years, it is now no longer a legal requirement to wear a face mask in places like shops, bars and on public transport.
Yeah, I think it's better we stop wearing masks just to give everybody a certain immunity.
I think it's a good thing, but sometimes I don't think it's a good thing, because what if someone's got corona inside the train station or bus station?
The trains come and go here at Edinburgh Waverley, and so do the masks. Those choosing to still wear them are definitely in the minority, however they span the whole age range. I've been asking the commuters why they're still choosing to cover up.
I work in a care home, and I'd like to think I was protecting the people that I'm going to go and work with.
Mainly for my own safety and other people's safety.
Yeah, for very little inconvenience, it just makes sense.
Right, we'll come to generally what you make of wearing masks anymore panel in a minute. But Murray, I want to come to you first about Nicola Sturgeon and what happened earlier this week. And a lot of people saying that what Nicola Sturgeon did, forgetting to wear a mask for a couple of minutes in a barber shop, is nowhere near as serious as Partygate. Do you agree with that?
Well, I'm really nervous recording this video because I have no idea if my microphone is continuing to pick up my audio. Got no way of knowing until I stop the video, and then I find out the hard way whether or not the microphone is persisted in being temperamental, which it's been for some time now, about 2 weeks, or if I've managed to crack a video out, which will be a surprise, let's put it that way, after the amount of times I got booted out of the stream on Sunday, I didn't even have to move, the microphone would just disconnect itself for no reason. I tried to make a video at the weekend, ended up being about an hour long, and again, it recorded about 8 minutes of audio at the start. So for 52, 53 odd minutes, there was just complete silence. And I just took one look at it and thought, what the fucking point? And No Chance did say that he was going to send me his old mic, and that was last Monday, like last week. I know the guy's got a lot on and whatnot, but the only reason that I haven't gone out and bought another mic is because he said he would send me his one. So, but whatever, it is what it is. But I'm hoping I can just get this video done, and I've got a few other things that I want to talk about, separate videos obviously, but again, it's just, I'm relatively hesitant, because if I end up getting into a video that takes me, more than 10-15 minutes, it could be wasted completely, and I'm no way of knowing, as I say, until I've recorded the video. But the reason that I'm bringing this up, I played this the little bit at the start there, was because this is still a never-ending talking point every day in the media. I mean, the media are hyping it up to a certain extent, especially with what's going to get discussed here, because this seems to be the new angle that they're coming at it from, and it's really starting to piss me off. But we're still talking about face coverings, obviously. That's the talk of the town. Fucking hell. Boris Johnson, should he resign? Should he not resign? If we're looking at it for how it's been presented, the guy's supposed to have lied, and he's been charged for it. It kind of stands to reason that they've got an argument when it comes to saying that he should fuck off. As far as I'm concerned, I couldn't care less. I've said that from the start regarding every one of these politicians that ever broke these rules. There's a reason they broke the rules to begin with. Something that none of these people will acknowledge. Nobody ever seems to acknowledge it. The reason that people continuously break the rules is because they know damn well that the rules either A, don't do a fucking blind bit of difference in terms of reducing or mitigating the potential spread of a deadly virus, which doesn't exist, I would argue. Everybody's got an opinion, freedom of speech and all that shit. Non-existent on YouTube. It's either that, or they know damn well that even if there is a virus out there, it doesn't pose a fucking risk like they're making it out to. So it's one of the two, take your pick. But these are two things that never get addressed, ever. It just seems to be stuff like, oh, well, they think they're above the rules. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, there's a deadly virus out there, but they just think they're above the rules. I'm gonna pull the other one, for fuck's sake. But that's here nor there. There's a comparison that keeps being drawn now, where they keep bringing up thin lips in the barbershop fiasco, and this is going to be a talking point when I press play there again. And they keep saying that Boris Johnson and how he's behaved in Westminster, he has potentially undermined. They always say things to the effect of, a lot of people are making the argument that he will have undermined any rules that might have to be imposed in the future, right? And then they'll try to bring up, some people say the same about Sturgeon in the barbershop, and then there's always somebody there to defend thin lips, like, oh, well, there's a big difference. Then they go into a big hoo-ha about how Boris Johnson lied to Parliament, and by extension the public, whereas thin lips, she just simply made a little mistake, right? But if we were comparing, as I said in that video that I made last week about this, if we were comparing thin lips down in Westminster Abbey with her baldy husband, the day before she came back up to Scotland to remind us all repeatedly, about 4 or 5 times in her COVID briefing, how effective face coverings were, agreeing with politicians that were asking her questions about it, before telling us all that she was extending the legal requirement for everybody to wear face coverings for an additional 2 fucking weeks. If they were so damn effective, and she believed the shit she was saying about them, and she also, by the way, believed that there was a deadly virus out there that you would be protected from by wearing a face covering, then she would have been wearing it when she was down there. And then when she was called out for it, but at the very, very end of the COVID briefing, admittedly, I missed that until I made that video last week. Completely missed that. Right? But when she gets called out for it, it's the first time in a long time where she doesn't give some long-winded script reading response, you know, with the head bobbing and the octave increasing in tempo, and she starts to get a little bit flustered. Oh, no, this was a very quick and concise point, because she knew damn well that any additional attention focusing on her regarding that incident really could call into question all the bullshit that she was saying that day in her COVID briefing. So she just simply said that she followed the rules. She always followed the rules, something the Tories we just can't accept. Then she refers to the fact that she wore a mask, the face covering, on a train down, on the train back up. Oh, that's very bold, very progressive, you know, very safe, candid thin lips, wearing a fucking face covering in a train, where she's seated probably nowhere near anybody else, but there is not really any face covering rules in England at all. So presumably she would have been wearing the face covering in Scotland, and then when she got to the border, she would have just taken it off. Or maybe she did wear the face covering for the entirety of her train journey. That is irrelevant. The point remains the same, that she sat at Westminster Abbey, very crowded space, not a damn mask in sight. Why wasn't she wearing a mask? Because there wasn't any legal requirement to wear one. But if she fucking believed the shit that she then repeated to all of us the day after when she came back up here, she would have been wearing it. That calls into question anything that she's got to say about face coverings. That undermines any potential re-establishing of rules in the future. Not a fucking barbershop photo. So again, this is what the media do. They do not focus on that. By extension, nobody seems to be talking about it. In terms of like Twitter and whatnot, when you have a wee look through that, they're all talking about the barbershop. It's such a bogus comparison. And it's been fueled to a certain extent by the media. Who fucking cares if Thin Lips stood in a barbershop for several seconds, if the argument that you're trying to present is that her doing so undermines COVID rules in the future, when you've got a fucking smoking gun in terms of her actions at the end of March? Anyway.
So interesting. So she broke a law, arguably, that she put in place. And she was investigated, but the police decided, on the basis of proportion, not to take action, quite rightly. And if you compare it with my comments earlier in terms of the Partygate stuff, I kind of said, look, based on that kind of misdemeanour, I don't think he should be removed from office. I didn't think it was a serious enough misdemeanour. The same goes with this, and quite frankly, I'm not convinced that some of the events in Downing Street should have got fines, things like where there happens to be a birthday cake in office. And equally, I don't think Nicola Sturgeon should have got fined for that misdemeanour. I found it amusing because it was over the Easter weekend, and quite frankly, I was astonished she didn't take the mask mandate away from the Thursday before Easter weekend to try and get everyone back together and enjoying themselves. And she fell foul of it at the last hurdle, which I find amusing, and I think the chat and things about that are funny, but it's not certainly something that she should have got a fine for.
Paul, what do you think? So Murray there saying that she broke a rule that she put in place, just like Boris Johnson did. You said earlier on when we were talking about Partygate that there was questions about Boris Johnson's integrity. So are there now questions about Nicola Sturgeon's integrity?
No.
See what I mean? Now, naturally, a witness has come out after the fact. Now, I will add this caveat. A witness has come out after the fact. I don't know if there's been any follow-ups regarding it, but a witness did come out anonymously to call into question Dunlip's version of events. A version of events that are already sceptical anyway, because the photograph that emerged puts him in a different position in the barbershop for posing for another photo with somebody. Not to mention, nobody in the barbershop's wearing masks either, might I add. But she claims that she waddled on in, and then within a matter of seconds, oh no, my face covering, and put it back on. And that's the narrative that seems to have been locked into place now, and everybody's running with it, right? But this witness said that it went on for a good few minutes, right? So naturally, then one of her, hangers on, one of her mouthpieces essentially kind of nudge, nudge, wink, wink, maybe whispered to her that the media were on their way or something. So she then put it on. She was given a mask and she put it on. But the fact is, though, that she waddled on in there without one and felt the need to just waddle about and take photos and pose to everyone, and she didn't give a fuck. It's strange, that, isn't it? But then in the mind of the Westminster Abbey again, with her husband, Bully Murrow. Never felt the need to wear one there either, so why should I be surprised? But the point is, though, that there's it again. And you might just say to yourself that this is just one little example, but I don't know if you've paid that much attention to media, maybe you haven't. But trust me, this is so repetitive at this point. I've heard it to no end, where they keep bringing up the fact that Boris Johnson misled Parliament. He undermines any potential COVID rules for the future if they ever, God forbid, quote unquote, have to come back into effect. And then they bring up this shit about a barbershop. If we're looking at it from how it's been set into place, set in motion regarding it was just for a few seconds, that's the narrative, right? They're not comparable. But if we're looking at it from the perspective of undermining COVID rules, especially relating to face coverings, it's not the barbershop that people should be talking about. It's not the barbershop that these people should be discussing. It's not the barbershop that these presenters should be on about. No, it should be the fact that she sat next to her fucking bald husband in Westminster Abbey in a crowded room, not a face covering in sight, before coming up to Scotland the day after, as I've said, to tell us all that they're effective, reaffirm that whenever our politician posed a question to her regarding it, then told us all that we had to wear it for an additional 2 weeks, then spent the next fucking week posing for photo after photo after photo, going back to business as usual, LARPing, waddling about with her daft haircut, posing everywhere with her face covering on. Like, are you wise? Everybody should, at that point, should have seen the photos that have emerged of her at Westminster Abbey without one. So why the fuck are you wearing one when you're back up here? Oh, because it's law. I mean, just pull the other one. That undermines any talk of a face covering. That undermines any rules in the future, as far as I'm concerned. Not a fucking barbershop incident. As I say, I'm hoping that this is still recording at this point, but this garbage. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Because she didn't lie about it, as far as I'm aware. She didn't advocate one thing, then go about doing another thing for
I'll put this back a second so you hear it properly, right?
That she put in place, just like Boris Johnson did. You said earlier on when we were talking about Partygate that there was questions about Boris Johnson's integrity. So are there now questions about Nicola Sturgeon's integrity?
No.
Yes.
No, because she didn't lie about it, as far as I'm aware. She didn't advocate one thing, then go about doing another thing for a whole series of a whole period of time.
But she fucking did. She fucking did. Because she sat at Westminster Abbey without her face covering. See what I'm saying here? This has been glossed over on purpose. Completely glossed over. They will not touch it. And I'm not just talking about these individuals, I'm talking about in general. It is not talked about. They keep referring to, oh, she broke the rules in the barbershop. She sat in Westminster Abbey with not a care in the world without her face covering. Not one in sight. She didn't give a fuck. You know? So she literally did what this dickhead is saying she didn't do. But he's correct in what he's saying because he's coming at it from the angle of the barbershop. I shouldn't be getting so worked up over something so trivial. But the fact is, this is fucking polluting our media. This is polluting conversation. And yet again, this thin-lipped baboon is coming up smelling of roses because people, oh, she simply made a mistake in a barbershop. Aye. Well, why don't you try and fucking justify her bullshit in Westminster Abbey? Like to see you try.
And she made a mistake. And as I understand the timeline, she acted upon it, put a mask on, and has apologised. So it is not within the same ballpark.
It's not in the same ballpark, right? Boris Johnson bullshit Parliament apparently so we can all have a wee sesh, a wee fucking bit of cheese and wine, the big fascist that he is, right? You know, I'm getting sicker. Where is it? So that's my other video that I want to make. Right? But this, as I said, no. Just I'm going to do it, you know, just get to the photos, that's all I need. It's a fucking joke. Nice as you like, without her face covering on. Nice as you like. There she is. Not a face covering in sight. Nowhere to be seen. I would say that's pretty comparable to Boris Johnson bullshit so we could all have a wee bit of cheese, don't you think? Where she feigned ignorance and tried to bury this. So, it's remarkable. And you know the worst part about it is so many people don't even know this took place. These photos exist. You know, this it fucking irritates me because it just seems that this woman gets away with murder in this country. Not literally, but she probably could essentially get away with it. Well, it's arguably that she has to a certain extent regarding care homes and whatnot. You know, shoving a bunch of people into care homes straight from hospital. So there is arguments to be made there. But, you know, just allegedly, I don't want sued now, but, well, not allegedly, but in terms of, is it their fault that the deaths occurred? I mean, the deaths did occur, but question marks, I still reside over how they all died, you know, but I'm getting away from the point here. It just seems that she gets away with absolutely everything. It's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. There's been so many opportunities that have happened throughout the years, but especially with this COVID nonsense, where she and like independence bollocks, you know, where she has been, there's the potential to just completely capitulate in the pedestal that she's held up on, but nah, she gets away with it time after time after time. We shouldn't be talking about a fucking barbershop if the argument is undermining COVID rules for the future. We should be talking about this. But that's not what's being discussed. Never is.
Was what his behaviour has been about, and if we want to get back into that, a question of his integrity, what he stands for over a period of time, which is what I was trying to get at. I'd like to. I'm happy to, but I don't think that on this occasion, this is a comparable situation.
But Paul, Nicola Sturgeon condemned Boris Johnson quite heavily about what happened. So do you think then she would have been happy if Boris Johnson had just apologised just like she did? Does that then even things up? He broke a rule that he put in place, apologised for it, owned it up to it. Do you think that therefore means that they're even Stevens now?
Well, no, because he only apologised. If we are going to go into that, he only apologised after he was given a fine for one thing, after saying he hadn't done the one thing that the police found he had done. He had tried to use the Sue Gray inquiry, which still hasn't fully delivered yet, as a way of moving away any focus from him. This is not on the same level whatsoever.
Kirsty, what do you think? Was there any hypocrisy here?
No, I think, look, there's a huge difference. And again, it's about context. If Boris Johnson had been caught a few times over the last 2 years not wearing a mask, I would not be sitting here saying that he needs to resign.
Really? Really, Kirsty?
Really? Oh, come on, Nick. Really? You know I wouldn't. I mean, that's silly. The reason for that is every single one of us at some point has forgotten momentarily to put a mask on. Everybody has. I've done it a few times.
But this is my
Nobody
point.
that I know during the height of lockdown, where the most intense restrictions were in place on our liberties, I don't know a single person who...
Yeah. Is this forgetting to wear a face covering, or is this quite clearly showcasing that she felt the need not to wear one? You know, we can talk about the barbershop all day long, I just see that as a fucking nothing burger, eh? But it seems to be a very convenient nothing burger because this is what they all focus on, as opposed to this. Don't even know why they're comparing the two. It just sounds ridiculous. You know?
Gatherings at a workplace or in their own home. I don't know anybody who did a bring your own booze event with 100 people in their back garden.
Yeah, well, I think you're a fucking liar, if I'm honest, to be honest. Like everybody I know. Well, I know a few people that broke the rules. I broke the fucking rules. I didn't follow the rules to begin with, but yeah, quite a few people I know did the same thing. So I don't believe that for a second.
It's a massive difference. It's about context and it's about time. This isn't the first time Nicola Sturgeon's been caught out not wearing a mask. There was a similar story when she attended a funeral and she was walking out and she briefly stopped to speak to some mourners and she didn't put her mask back on.
Yeah, that's what she uses her excuse. But there's also the video of her standing in a restaurant talking to women who are sat at a table and she doesn't have her face covering on, whereas the rules at the time said that you could not have a face covering. You could not be without a face covering, if you were standing. You had to be sat because, that's COVID knows the difference, obviously. But there she was with her stupid fucking haircut, talking away to women sat at a table, recorded, nice as you like. Or the thing that I keep bringing up that nobody else seems to bring up when it comes to media pundits and whatnot, the Westminster Abbey photos, the Westminster trip in general. Sat down there next to that sun-dome-headed boyfriend, or husband, I should say. I'm not a damn fucking word about that. I would say that undermines Nicola Finlip's credibility. I would say that that's pretty damn comparable to Boris Johnson bullshitting so we could go and have some fucking cheese. Don't you think? But this woman doesn't even know that. She either doesn't have a fucking clue, or she is deliberately not going to bring it up. One or the other.
And that was all over the papers as well. I don't think anyone can seriously say that these two situations between Partygate and a momentary lapse of putting on a mask are in any way comparable.
Okay. No, they're not. So why the fuck did the media keep bringing it up? And that is my point of contention here. I'm not going to continue to repeat myself because this is what they do for the next wee while, and it's just the same shit. It's not comparable. Barbershop this, barbershop that. No one cares. My point is that they always manage to conclude on that front by saying, they're not comparable. Well, stop fucking talking about it then. The fundamental issue here is, though, that the new narrative that's starting to emerge is that Boris Johnson has undermined any potential COVID rules for the future. Oh, is that right? Aye. Is that right? Maybe he has. I don't give a fuck, right? I don't follow him anyway. But I would damn say, with complete and utter certainty and pure confidence, that this escapade here is the exact same in terms of undermining any rules and credibility. But yet again, the thin-lipped guru gets away with fucking murder. Peace.